Hello, welcome to another edition of Finding, Writing, and Citing, an introduction to using WMU library resources. Today's lesson, saving your references using Refworks. What we're going to learn today. First, we're going to talk a little bit about what Refworks can do for you, and also some of the things you should not expect it to do. You're going to see how to fill out a Refworks reference form, how to use Refworks to generate an in-text citation, and also how to use Refworks to generate the final bibliography. So let's get started. If you remember, in a previous session, we covered the four major types of bibliographic formats, which included the book, as you see here, using the title page and the reverse of the title page called the verso to find the information you need to populate a Refworks form to get your citation. Remember also we covered the journal article, which in this case was the Marine Pollution Bulletin, a quarterly that comes out. We also learned about a book chapter in which it's not just a monograph. Each chapter stands on its own, and you will want to cite the chapter as well as the book in general. And last, we covered the conference paper. The paper appears as a work within conference proceedings. So we will enter an example of each one of the four formats into Refworks. I am going to assume that you already know how to log into Refworks. That'll be a separate video if we need it. Let me talk a little bit about Refworks, what it actually is, what it does. It is a reference manager. It is only as good as the data that goes in there. There are many ways of getting data into Refworks. Some of them are very convenient, but they can also be very erroneous. So you need to know the pitfalls about entering data. There is, for instance, a very handy save to Refworks feature. You could be perhaps reading something from Lloyd's List and click save to Refworks. It might or might not work. There are so many variables when it comes to being out there on the wide world of web that it's very hard to say whether everything will translate properly. It's really not any fault of Refworks if it doesn't. It will make its best attempt if it can do it. It's still your responsibility to follow up and make sure that everything gets imported. I rarely use the feature, frankly, because it's wrong about half the time. And besides, what's out there on the World Wide Web is not necessarily good scholarly data, unlike the things you'll find in the databases that the library pays for. There's also the ability to just drag and drop a PDF or to import references from Mendeley or from some other database where you downloaded just the citations. You can upload a document such as a PDF, and perhaps it will, once it uploads, Refworks will actually try to read the title and author information. It'll do its best to fill out the form. But what you have to realize is this is not automatic. I almost wish they didn't offer these advanced features because you're too reliant on them, and you get all confused and you just want to give up when the fancy features don't work right. It doesn't automatically import your citations into Word or whatever. Those are just small fractions of a second of saving your time, so they're not that big a deal. The important part about Refworks is that you store your data, your bibliographic data, in a database that belongs to you. And when you're done, you get to reuse those and output them in any particular format that you want. We use APA at the World Maritime University, but you can move on to another graduate school, another program, and keep those same references and output them in Chicago or Harvard or Oxford or any of the other styles. The data is, as long as it's in the right field, in the right format, it will do the job. And so even if you have to type something in manually, remember, you only have to type it in once, type it in right. And that is what I'm going to show you today. Using all four of those formats is an example of how to type into a Refworks form. That way, you're guaranteed to get it right. Okay, remember our example of the monograph book. I believe it was Martin Stopford's Maritime Economics. So we're going to create a new reference, and we're just going to enter the data manually. You see there's various formats that we can choose from, and there's many of those. I just want to choose standard old book, right? When we do that, we know that the title is Maritime Maritime Economics. Okay, we know the author is Stopford Martin. Now notice that when I started typing here, Refworks actually found the citation. I can click this and the rest of the data will be in there. But please understand, this is great if it works, but it doesn't necessarily work. You might not find it. This is not a search tool. It has a convenient feature that if something's been cited before in its massive database, it will pull that information and allow you to just simply import it like I'm going to do now. Okay, look, it filled the rest of it out, 2009, third edition. However, it is up to you as the importer of the data to make sure that the information is in the right format. And that it's in the right field, okay? Just because you got it from somewhere doesn't mean that it's correct, okay? So it did save me some typing, yay for that. But remember, Refworks is not a search tool. You want to use the Google Scholar, you want to use the Library Discovery Service or any one of our regular databases. This just is convenient. If you happen to be holding the work in your hand and you start typing and it finds it, great. But once you put, click accept, it's up to you to make sure that the right data is in the right place in the right format. And I cannot stress that enough. Your responsibility. You can't expect everything to just be completely automated and work. It's a lot of moving parts, a lot of players, a lot of protocols. So just remember, what you're doing is you're saving yourself work for next time, okay? In my day, you had to type everything by hand every time you cited. And you really went through a lot of paper. This way, you get it stored once, it's reusable. Okay, so I approve and I save this record. And there it is. We have an example of a book. Now, if we wanted to see how to cite this, very simple. We can just go to Quick Cite. Make sure that it's APA. Okay, choose that. And there it is. Now, I might want to include, say, a page number. I'm just going to take this. I'm going to copy the Stopford 2009, and I'm going to paste it into my in-text citation at the appropriate place. Now, I might do comma after 2009, P dot 23 or 23-25, et cetera, to indicate where I found this in Stopford. Shorter works, that's usually not required. But as you can see, I'm pasting this in from Refworks. I would toggle over to Microsoft Word or to Google Docs and simply paste it in. Now I know there is the write and cite, there is the add-in, there is the Google Docs add-on, and it's supposed to work, but sometimes it doesn't. Don't get frustrated by that, okay? The main thing is that you've got an example of or how you're supposed to use this. Just copy and paste. It's okay. It takes you an extra couple of seconds. If the add-on works for you or the Microsoft add-in works for you, by all means use it. But don't give up on Refworks just because because this cloud-based database doesn't work directly with your Microsoft Word instance on your computer, whatever type you're using. It doesn't work, okay? The main thing is you've got Stopford right there, cut, paste, okay? And then later I'll show you how to generate the bibliography. All right. Well, remember we have 3 other formats, and I'm going to show again that they create manually. Okay, the default seems to be journal article, but I've already had a book. And let's say I do have a journal article, right? This is where I would type in the title information, the authors, the title of the journal, volume page, right? There's specific fields that get added according to the type of format. Same thing if I wanted to do a conference or if I wanted to do a book section, a book chapter of a book, right? Different fields get arranged and added or subtracted from the format. And these get output accordingly, according to whatever standards, whether it's APA or Chicago, Harvard, etc. You just need to get the data in the right place. Well, like many a cooking show where they put in a pie for 45 minutes, but then after the commercial break, it's done. I've already included these, got these, a couple of these I managed actually to find them as I started typing in the citation. A couple of them I had to type in all the information by hand, okay? Again, think of it this way, that Yes, you have to type it in by hand. That bummer that it didn't work automatically. But again, once it's typed, it stays typed, okay? And it can be output in any particular format. So speaking of which, let's just generate, let's take a look quickly at a citation for this journal article, right? Quick cite. I want to make sure it's APA. And this one, right? Okay, Adams 2004. That's all I'd have to do. Just toggle over to my word processor and in the appropriate place, paste that in. Maybe then add a page number. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether your Microsoft Word add-on works or doesn't work. If it works for you, great, but don't obsess on it. Okay, the main thing is use the Refworks database the way it's intended. Okay, finally, to generate a bibliography, that is the list of references at the end of your work. All you got to do, oops, that's only choosing one. Excuse me a second. Let me go back to my select all, I guess, right? And then generate the bibliography. And poof, there you go. You see the hanging indent automatically formatted. It got the author's names and the titles of the works, the titles of the articles, the titles of the chapters, as well as the books or the journal, etc. All done, okay? All I got to do then is just copy this and paste it at the end of my document, whether it's a Google Doc or whether it's a Word doc. Now, you can automatically export this to Word or Google Docs, and that's great. That probably works just fine. But this is good enough, okay? Don't get obsessed on all the extra little conveniences that saves you a couple of seconds. If they work, great. Okay, that's all for now on Refworks. We recommend you check out the Refworks channel on YouTube if you want to get more in depth. And as always, come by the library if you have questions. Next in our series, formulating your reference questions. Anna will show you how to break down your specific questions into its key components to get you the most comprehensive, yet most relevant results when you are searching online. Stay tuned.